All right, let's look at the takeaways from the speech the president gave at the General Assembly. Above all things, Africa was the centerpiece of his conversation. He mentioned how that, other power countries should stop seeing Africa as, a place to come and dump or rip off. Instead of, more investments should be made in the continent. And he also mentioned about the several coups that has continued to bedevil, especially the West African sub-region. How do you react to all that conversation?
I think he made case for Nigeria in particular and Africa in general. But I think in fairness to the world, there are so many areas where the world would have responded, and for me, I feel Africa and Nigeria in particular may not be able to manage the resources as being given to Africa. I quite agree that you have some areas where you have exploitation, like the area where you talked about mineral resources, how the locals collaborate with the West to perhaps make away with our resources. I think we have a new scenario like that in Nigeria, where you see locals collaborating with foreigners to mine our solid mineral like gold and all that, like some precious stones. But I think all the aid that is coming into Africa, I don't think our leaders have been able to put it to judicious use.
All right, taking it off from where you just stopped, some quarters internationally have continued to react to, President Tinubu's speech. Some have called it, deemed it as hypocritical, mentioning how that a lot of African leaders haven't really done the needful. I mean, if you have put your house in order, then that would show people who are coming how to respect your environment and treat you as they come. Do you agree with that conversation?
I think to an extent, I agree to that statement to an extent, because you look at the issue of sovereignty and how to protect yourself. Even as you look forward to your foreign partners with respect to technology, weapons, I think it behoves on you as a government to protect your people. Because he dwelled on the issue that has to do with sovereignty, all this violent extremism that has to do with terrorism. We understand that even the West have been collaborating with Africa, Nigeria in particular, under the last administration of Muhammadu Buhari, had a situation where we were able to procure about 12 Tucano jets. I think that one is significant. And if they were, and to Nigerians, the government have not been even able to put that aircraft, war plane, to good use. But we thought it's going to be a game changer. But to be quite honest with you, I don't think we have made the best use of it. Looking at that his address holistically, he dwelled on the issue that has to do with the removal of fuel subsidy. According to him, that is to encourage investors and is to stop the costly fuel subsidy and attract investors into our economy. But to be quite honest with you, I don't think we have actually gotten that necessary investors that will come as a result of subsidy removal. But I think the government needed to do more. Removing the subsidy and thinking you want to foster growth, like he said, and attract foreign investors, I don't think you have yielded that result. Because if you look at what is happening in Nigeria currently, you have a situation where even marketers are saying we are not importing because all the dynamics are not right. Because we don't have access to forests to import. And ordinarily, when you liberalize a sector like that, you open it up, you are bringing in private sector to participate. But I have a situation where even after the regulation, NNPC seems to be the only importer of the product. So for me, according to what he said in that address regarding the removal of fuel subsidy removal on gasoline, I don't think it have actually yielded the necessary result, and I don't think it have actually attracted investors into our economy in that regard.
Still talking about sorry, Josh.
Right,
it's talking about attracting investors. Yeah. He did also call on Nigerians in the diaspora. You know, for the past 100 days, I think 117 days now, he's been in office. He has been about, you know, revenue generation and encouraging investors to come and invest. He even called on Nigerians in America, in the diaspora, to come home, saying that we are ready, and saying during his speech that, you know, the removal of fuel subsidy was to encourage investors. I mean, we both live in Nigeria. We've seen what the realities are. It hasn't really yielded that. But do you see a point, or in this entire dynamics, do you see a point where maybe the whole realities will start to tilt towards the direction that he hopes it will be?
The truth is, it's not just for you to bring foreign investors into your environment, your country. It doesn't just depend on one factor. We are looking at the security of lives and property in Nigeria. And Mr. President equally dwell on that area where he mentioned the issue of extremism, terrorism, and all that. But you must address the issue of protection of lives and property if foreign investors must come into the economy. Because no foreign investor will want to come in where your investment is not safe. So for me, I think the government needs to do more in that regard, have one remove fuel subsidy. There's no argument about removal of fuel subsidy. Everybody agrees that fuel subsidy should go. But Mr. President equally made mention of the issue of unification of Naira at the official window, that it was harmful to the economy, and that he equally agreed that the subsidy removal comes with pain, and that it's a necessary thing that we have to do as a people to engender development. But for me, I think the areas the government needed to address the challenges that come with it, the government is not forthcoming in doing it. Particularly the area of bringing succor to the vulnerable. Unfortunately, we have not seen a very good effort from government in addressing that.
All right, now let's look at the speech that the president gave, because I'm going to take it back again to what we earlier on had as a first discourse, especially with regards to he encouraging, member states, to come, together as one nation in solidarity with each other. There is nothing wrong in, calling for solidarity as a president, and of course someone who also is a chairperson when it comes to the African states. Now, looking at the situation of things, he talked about the wave of the military presence in some of these African states, and like they say, an apple does not fall far from its tree. You're looking at the situation of things in these African states, we can understand why the situation is the way it is, especially with regards to the emergence of some of these presidents were not free and credible, and of course it will give rise to military, intervention in that regard. And of course, the people, of course, they've not felt the dividends of democracy. Hardship have always prevailed in those countries. Now, what impact does his speech have, especially considering how he, as a president, also emerged, in as much as he was announced as a president? But of course, it is common knowledge that the process for which he also emerged was not credible. So what do you think about such statements?
I think Nigeria's scenario happened to be a little bit different from other African countries, particularly areas where you are seeing this coup taking place. If you look at the situation with Niger, it is not the same thing with Nigeria. Look at the situation with Gabon. You have a situation where this African mentality of stay put have been reigning in that place. If you have a coup in Cameroon, you can liken it to what you have in Gabon. But I quite agree with you that there are so many Nigerians who feel dissatisfied with the electoral process in Nigeria. But it's not the same scenario with all the places where you have coup taking place in Africa. But I think we had a time of a president under Yar'Adua who accepted that the election that brought him into office was flawed and decided to improve on the electoral process, though he didn't live to complete the process. So I would have expected the president, I mean this current administration, to admit that yes, our electoral process is not right. There's need to improve on it.
So
but that we have not seen happen.
In the absence of that, what would you say about such speech at that global stage?
No, for me, I think...
Is that hypocritical or honest?
You know, it's not my place to start looking at whether it was...
From your own perspective.
What I'm trying to say in essence is, for me, as a Nigerian, as someone who witnessed the election, I understand that our electoral system needs to be addressed.
So from a president who failed to admit to the fact that the process for which he emerged as a president was found fault with, given the analysis of that of Yar'Adua, what would you say about such statements at that global
as an individual, as a person, he has choice of what to do. And it's not my place to start imposing on him what to do. But we are commending the past president, Yar'Adua, who took the honorable part by admitting that the electoral system in Nigeria is not right, that there's every need to address it.